Okay, we're recording.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Black Frame. You are joined by Ivey Ruiz, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Marco Avila.
Oh, see, that one was nice and sweet. Usually you take forever to introduce yourself.
I know, it's because I hate my voice and my name is weird. But yeah, hi.
It's fine. Hi, how are you doing, Marco?
Doing good. Sleep deprived, but good. How about you?
Likewise, sleep deprived, always hungry, watching movies, working. Same old, same old.
That's good. I mean, yeah, that's good. Why not? In these days, why not? But yeah,
Right?
it's been a while since we've seen each other. What,
Yeah.
a week? Because we're still doing this in Zoom. We're still far
Yeah.
away. It's funny
But
because
I'm doing better.
yeah, that's what I was saying to you before we started. It's funny because my view from here on Zoom is it looks like you are in a hospital because the back the back wall behind you is just beige with white and it's all clear, and
Yeah.
there's some birthday balloons, but they look like the type of balloons that you buy at a gift store at a hospital, that you bring to someone that's been in a room after a surgery or something. So yeah, is that where
Yeah.
you are, or are you at home?
No, I'm actually at home. Thank God. No, the balloons, I have this thing where I have sentimental value on certain items, and my family actually bought me those balloons for my birthday, and I take forever to deflate them, and then I'll put them away somewhere and keep them.
Okay, I guess it's only been 10 days or so since our birthday. It makes sense. But still, it's funny. Either way, so Ivy,
Yes.
I believe we watched a movie for an episode, right?
Yes, we did. And this is actually a movie that I kind of introduced to you because I was going through like childhood memory lane. And this is one of the movies that popped up, and I watched it recently, and you watched it, so we decided to do a podcast on it. So,
Yeah, I
Marco?
mean we had already been doing a podcast, but yeah, you.
Oh, a podcast episode. My
Yeah.
bad.
But yeah, so the movie is a strange movie, and it's definitely a movie that Ivy would have suggested. It's definitely a movie that tells you a lot more about Ivy and Ivy's childhood than anything
Yeah.
else. So we're gonna get into Ivy's childhood a little bit probably. But yeah, Ivy, what is the name of the movie we watched for today's episode?
All right. So the name of the movie is 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T. And just to get into my childhood, so I used to live with my grandma, and VHS was popping back then. My grandma used to record like all my shows on VHS. And one of the VHS tapes that she recorded, it said Flatliners, that movie. Was it a movie or was it a show? I don't even remember. I just remember it said Flatliners. And I remember I popped that in once, and it was actually this movie. It was 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T. And I was traumatized as a kid. Didn't understand what was going on.
Oh,
but now I kind of do.
Oh, so the movie traumatized you. I thought it was the other way around, where you were traumatized and this movie just helped you cope with it or something, or you were already so
I mean, it's
traumatized this movie
possible.
made sense.
No, it's possible. I've been traumatized by many films, or I've been traumatized just in life in general, and films have helped me cope, but not this time.
Exactly. Okay, so again, the name of the movie is 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T.
happens in an amazing castle with a tickle-em-to-death torture chamber and a 500-player piano with 480,000 keys. It's a musical merry-go-round sparkling with songs and dances, whirling you away to a new world of wonders.
Have a smoke. Have a cigar.
Don't mind if I do.
Something to eat. Something to drink.
Dr. T is sweet on Mrs. C. So is Mr. Z, the plumber, who fixes sinks and knows all the angles.
When the plumber Zabladowski has installed the last sink, I want him disintegrated. Atom by atom.
See the dangerous descent from the sky-high ladder. See the whammy duel between Dr. T and Mr. Z. See the eighth wonder of the cinema world, the startling, daring Wonderama in color by Technicolor.
Okay, so 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T. It sounds very like it could be a very dangerous movie for a kid to watch, and it kinda is. But Ivy, I have to say this movie was different,
Yes.
and I think I'm gonna. The one thing we should let everyone know is that this is an actual official Dr. Seuss movie. Like this movie was actually written, like the screenplay was written, the lyrics were written by Dr. Seuss, and
Yep. The
he was
man
also like,
himself.
yeah, he was also like an executive producer on it or something like that. But yeah, so before I say my what I thought about this movie, what what is it that you think about this movie since you were a kid?
I thought it was one of those weird. How could I explain it? It was just to me when I was younger. It made no sense. I had to kind of like piece things together. I was like, okay, there's a kid with like a hand on his head, and why does he have a hand on his head? Why does his dad, the janitor, but he doesn't know that's his dad? I didn't have any clue what was going
This is when you were a
on.
kid, though, right?
This is when I was a
Oh,
kid.
okay.
I had to have been like maybe 6 or 7 when I first saw this movie. And again, like this was on VHS tape. They had all the commercials. I assume my grandma like taped it like on like it came out on TV.
Yeah.
So I remember the commercials as well as the movie itself.
What was the
but yeah,
commercial?
it was just a weird movie. The commercial, you don't remember? Okay, so back then those commercials, like what was it, like Bagel Bite? I remember the Bagel Bite commercial that came in between
Oh,
it.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and
Okay,
then like
okay.
the Capri Sun.
Go on, go on with the movie itself.
We're not sponsored by these people, by the way. Yeah, so it was weird, but you know, I think what caught my eye a lot was just the music. As always, it's always the music. It caught
Okay.
my eye. It caught my attention.
Okay, yeah. So that's one. That's another thing. This movie is a Dr. Seuss written musical. Um, so yeah, that's a good thing that it has going for it. If you like musicals and Dr. Seuss, this is like an actually this is not something that was based on a Dr. Seuss story. This is something that Dr. Seuss actually wrote himself. Um, so here's my take. I I watched it just yesterday, and based on the trailer, because you had shown me the trailer before,
Yeah.
I honestly thought it was gonna be a lot more, just in general, than what it was. Um, I think I expect. I think because the sets are like this very magical 1950s style, very theatrical, very majestic type of sets and stuff, and the trailer always shows you the biggest parts of the movies, like the big dancing numbers, the big musical numbers. I think I was expecting the whole movie to be like that. So it's still a
Yeah.
it's still a good movie. It's definitely a weird movie. but I just didn't. As much as I love musicals, this one just didn't do it for me, and I think it has to do with the way it was re-edited for its release. We'll
Right.
talk about we can talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, it was, I don't know. Like it was weird in the way that I expected a Dr. Seuss thing to be. Like it definitely has those that aesthetic from Dr. Seuss, like the hat with the hand. Uh
Hmm.
but the music was just the I know you love the soundtrack, but the soundtrack was just like I think like it. I guess because I felt like it wasn't a musical. It was just a movie with some songs in it.
Right.
But
Uh,
not to it was.
I mean, I have to agree with you. Like I was saying, when I was a kid, it caught my attention. I guess just the way everything appeared in the film. Again, it was
Yeah, I mean,
yes, the aesthetics of the background, the music, and just that dust. Like what is it? Like that kind of like the just the images that portrayed a lot in the film that caught my eye. Now watching it as an adult, it's very different because now I understand the storyline, so it didn't really grab my attention
yeah.
as it did as a kid.
I mean, it's definitely it's it's fun to watch. Like this,
Yeah.
like the visuals are really cool. The visuals are there. Again, for me though, I just I guess I was expecting a lot more. I mean, I guess it's because it's weird enough that you just kind of that you just kind of have to go with it. But
Mm-hmm.
and here's the thing: the movie it starts off with this kid that seems to have like um what's the name of this thing? It's with a kid that seems to have narcolepsy and can't stop falling asleep in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And then like it's very obvious, like, oh, this whole movie is going to be a dream. And that kind of and like just with that, it kind of like took something away from of the plot for me, of the weirdness for me. I was like, yeah,
Right.
the whole movie could be weird. I don't care if it doesn't make sense. I guess back then when this movie was made, apparently Dr. Seuss wasn't as famous yet, so maybe no, people didn't really know that that's what they should have expected, so they added that. But yeah, it was uh, it's just what they left for the actual movie. It's weird, but at the same times, like there's stuff missing.
Yeah, I could agree with you on that. And like I said, it's one of those movies that when you watch as a kid, it's appealing. But as you watch as an adult, I think you see the pros and cons of the film. Like you
Now,
see the good aspects of it and the bad.
were you obsessed with the kid or were you obsessed with the villain or something? I know there must have been someone you were obsessed with in this film. Who was it?
Okay, so I love Lucy. I can recite I love Lucy back and forth to you. Every episode, every quote. Now, the villain in that film, Hans Koret. Yeah, I think Koret. Can never pronounce his last name. But the villain in the film,
Yeah, yeah.
he has come out in a couple of episodes of I Love Lucy, and I
Okay.
didn't realize that. And it's something about his like facial expressions that always caught my eye. So when I was a kid, watching him actually is pretty much the reason why I watched it. Like he was interesting to, I guess, look at. If that makes sense.
So you had so you recognized the guy from I Love Lucy.
Yeah,
You
I
see,
did actually.
you sound like you're so much older than you are sometimes.
I know I get that a
You
lot.
watch so much
I just,
you watch so much stuff from the 1950s.
I love it. I don't know. I grew up with grandmothers. Those are the people that raised me. So they always showed me like Nick at Night and all these old classic films.
So
That's what I
did
grew
it
up with. So that's what I love.
was I Love Lucy at on Nick at Night when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When I was a kid, it was Nick at Night. It would come out exactly at 10 o'clock. I remember because the noticias would finish at 10, and I Love
That
Lucy
means
would
the
start,
news.
and
Yeah,
the
because
news is the
there's
one.
no word for it in English.
But yeah, so then it was one episode of I Love Lucy on Nick at Night, and I think right after it was like the Dick Van Dyke Show, and then I had to go to bed.
Oh wow, Nick
That
at
was my
Night had
bedtime.
some older shows. See, I never had cable, so at 10 I would watch regular TV, but in my house at 10 it was the actual news. So I would go to my room and watch The Simpsons because that's what
Oh,
was airing at 10 after the 9 o'clock news on the other channel. Um, but no, see, when I finally got cable, which wasn't until freaking college. Um, but I didn't. I had a lot of. They aired a lot of cable content in Mexican TV. Um, when I started watching Nick at Night, it had reruns of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and The Nanny, which I had already seen since when I was a kid. So I just loved it.
yeah.
I would
I
play it
remember
all the
the
time.
nanny.
But yeah, so you were obsessed with the bad guy. Of course you were.
As always. I love villains, you know this. They
Yeah.
always
Were you
catch my attention.
were you obsessed with the costumes, with the costume of the bad guy? Because let's tell people this again. This is a Dr. Seuss movie, so everything is weird. Everything is a weird. What's a Dr. Seuss word? It's a very salasalu kind of.
Whoville-ish?
Yeah. So the kids look like the drawings. Even the main kid looks like one of those drawings from Dr. Seuss. Um, all the sets are this very big, but also like undulating kind of wavy kind of sets. Very magical looking, but also the costumes. The costumes are
Yeah.
there. That's the thing that my first note was, and I meant to ask you, but we weren't watching it together. I thought I was what the way this movie starts, and this is before you realize everything's gonna be a dream. Is it starts
Hmm.
with the kid having one dream, and he's being pursued by some people,
Right.
and the first thing I saw is you see the kid running around this weird Martian looking, alien looking landscape. And all I could think was like, wow, that looks kind of like the Teletubbies set without but like the Teletubbies set at night because there's no sun, but it's foggy, but it looks like a Dr. Seuss slash Teletubby kind of landscape. And then
Right.
there's some weird guy wearing this weird costume with this big kind of thing above his head that's part of him, and it turns into a light. And all I could think of was like, this is like like the evil Teletubby, because it looks like a Teletubby instead of just having like a weird antenna, like the antenna has like a spotlight on top.
Yeah.
Like if you ever watched it, it looked like I was like it looked like it was like an evil dark movie version of the Teletubbies, which I would totally watch. But either
Oh
that or
God.
whoever created the Teletubbies saw that and was like, "Ooh, I could make a whole kid show out of this. Maybe put it in the daylight." But you know what I'm talking about.
No, no, I remember the Teletubbies. My sister was all into it. I had to watch it because I had to watch her. I was never a really big fan, but I do agree with you. It does have some, I guess, elements of like
I
the
mean,
Teletubby lens.
had that whole movie been just based on that one scene, and just the whole time being at night and just Teletubby guards looking for this kid running around in the foggy in the foggy village, that would have been a scary, nightmarish, awesome movie that I would have watched. And in fact, that's my pitch for for
For the
for
remake?
yeah, that's my pitch right there. I mean, it might be its own thing, but I mean, but yeah,
No, I mean,
you were
yeah,
talking about
the
costume.
costumes. Yeah, the costumes were, I think, also again, it caught my eye as a kid. In fact, the kid's costume. So in the film, the kid wears this hat, and it has like the fingers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, the fingers of Dr. T.
Happy
He
fingers.
has the little happy fingers. And I remember I wanted to be that kid, Bart. His name's Bart. Bartholomew? I can never pronounce that
Well,
name.
they never say the whole name, but if it's Bart, the assumption is that it's Bartholomew.
Yeah, so his character, he wears the hat with the fingers. I actually wanted to be that for 1 year for Halloween. And I remember
Oh,
I
okay.
grabbed like my
I thought you
grandfather's
wanted to be a.
gloves.
I thought you meant you wanted to be a kid with a weird hat learning piano,
I mean, yeah, that too.
like in
So yeah,
life.
I remember like in life. Yeah, I grabbed my grandfather's gloves. Well, he used to have like a lot of gloves in his shed. And I remember I grabbed the gloves, I put water in it, and I remember sticking it on to a hat. And I was trying to make my costume, and I don't know what happened. I guess my grandmother threw it away, but
Oh
it was
god.
my first attempt at my own costume.
You're on your first attempt at cosplay.
Yeah, my first
So,
attempt at
so
cosplay.
I'm assuming the glove filled with water, it never bumped on you and just exploded on
Oh
your face.
no, I was a very dumb kid, because obviously if you wanted to like stand out or stand up,
Yeah.
maybe put air in it. Instead, I put water. So my hand was just kind of like sinking onto my face.
Yeah, it just looked like you had someone's hand on top of your face.
Handprint on my, yeah.
Kind of like
But
that would be
I mean,
scary.
that would be a cool cosplay to do if you could actually achieve it correctly.
Yeah, that would be the scarier costume that would go on the darker, more scary movie that I just pitched with the dark Teletubbies.
Oh god,
That's
I would
it's
I would
coming.
see that movie. Just
It's coming together here. It's coming. We're building something here. Just keep pitching ideas. Keep coming up. But yeah,
maybe somebody's listening.
yeah. But yeah, I think the yeah. What was I gonna say? Those costumes were cool. I like the costumes. Again, they're very what you would expect from Dr. Seuss. I remember
hmm
and the sets as well. I really like the main set, which is the uh big set with the big long piano. Um, and
Yes.
this undulating endless piano where 500 kids are supposed to play and rehearse the piano forever. I mean that and that's where my moment was. I was like, oh, that's why it's called 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T, because he wants to have.
What did you think the kid was gonna grow like 5,000 fingers?
Well, no, 'cause again, based on the trailer, I had no idea what the whole. I didn't even think the title was gonna have anything to do with the movie. But again, that's
Right.
because when I watched the trailer, I really thought it was about a family going on trip or something to like a theme park or something, and then getting coerced into some scheme by Dr. T. Like that's what I got from the trailer. Because
You
again, the
honestly,
trailer really only it's not like the trailer doesn't show you a story. They just put in like the best scenes. And so you get nothing from what the actual plot is out of the trailer. So when I said like, oh, there's a whole reason for the title. And then I think once I figured out because they explain the title to you within the first half hour or something. And then I
yeah.
think that just took away more of the magic to me because like, oh well, I know what's gonna happen. Like, well, okay. I mean, now I know exactly what the plot is. And then I think out of that, then I guess that's where I figure at least all the big musical numbers would make up for it. But I mean, the songs there weren't that many, and they're very generic, kind of. You know, they're not songs. I'm gonna want to keep singing afterwards because they're very plot
I
related.
mean, yeah, like if you ask me now, like what was my favorite song, right? any film you ask me, what was your favorite song, Ivy, in the entire film? I could actually name it to you. But this is one of those films where I don't even know the actual, or I couldn't really be like, oh yeah, I love that song
Yeah,
or the name of this song, because I don't think they really stood out either to me. I think
yeah,
again, it's just more the visual aspect of the film that stands out more than the musical or the
exactly.
music itself.
Yeah,
You
because I
know,
mean,
because like when I
no, go ahead.
no go for it. Oh, well, no, like when I'm talking about visual, like like I tell you, when I was a kid, there's actually three scenes that actually stood out to me the most. And I remember, like, it's one of those things, like when you're trying to remember, like a movie, right? You're trying to remember a movie that you can't remember the name of it, but you remember certain things.
Yeah,
These were the three things I could remember from this film, just to get the title of it. And one thing is the food. Like, there's a scene in the movie where, yeah, there's a scene in the movie where what was it, the janitor guy,
yeah,
he goes up to investigate, and then the guy's like, oh,
yeah.
are
When
you hungry? Are you
he
thirsty?
gets hypnotized and lured and stuff with foods and cigars and drink.
Exactly. And those food, oh my God, I was like, oh, that looks good. I wish somebody would offer that to me. In fact, this is where my craze
That's
for
true.
pickle juice came.
Oh, that was my question. That was one of my freaking questions on my notes was ask Ivy, and I have two things to ask. I'll ask the other one later. But for one of those questions was, is there such a thing as vintage pickle juice? Like vintage wine. Do people age pickle juice?
You know what?
Because
I don't think it's
unfortunately, I know
people
that
do
pickle juice
it.
is a real thing.
Well, obviously.
Ah,
I don't think people actually like, or at least I thought I was the only one that did it. To me personally, I like to save pickle juice because I like it to kind of have like,
yeah,
I guess like an extra sourness to it.
I
But
think
maybe
at
people actually really do it.
I think at that point it's just like it, if you just age it, isn't that at that point doesn't it just become a vinegar? Isn't that what pickle
I
juice
didn't think
is?
about that.
I mean, ah. No,
I love pickle juice.
no, no.
I love it.
You,
Even like when you're working out, before you work
you
out, you
pickle
drink pickle
people.
juice.
You pickle
You
people.
pickle people.
Oh, there's something wrong with you.
No, that I mean
No,
that
no.
pickle
You,
juice is good for you actually for your
you know
joints.
what I heard? I heard that people that like pickles and pickle juice are missing a soul, and they're trying to fill that void with pickles because they don't have a soul.
Well, you know what?
Oh
I
wait, no,
found
that's
it, and
twins.
it's in
No, I'm
pickle
kidding.
juice.
But no, yeah, with the part you mentioned, that was the part of the movie that I actually paid attention to because I'm like, ooh, that looks good. And he kept saying
Yeah,
when it comes to the food, he kept saying all the right stuff, especially at the end he offered the plumber uh a meat pie. Was it shepherd's pie? No, chicken pot
shepherd's
pie.
pie. Yeah.
Chicken pot pie. Like,
No,
oh,
it was
I'm so
a.
hungry.
It looks like all desserts to me. Isn't shepherd's
Yeah,
pie more like
well, that's the
meat
thing.
and
I could tell there wasn't chicken pot pie in that tray, but he said chicken pot pie. And I mean, it's Dr.
yeah.
Seuss. It's a Dr. Seuss movie. All the desserts look nothing like what the actual food that they were describing. They look, like a Dr. Seuss type food. But the thing that I thought was weird was that when he offered the dude drinks, he actually offered uh what's it called? Sake and tequila, which I didn't think people even
Hmm.
knew what that stuff was in the 50s. Maybe tequila, but I was surprised about sake. Because I mean,
Yeah, sake's been around
sake
for
is,
a long time.
well, yeah, but this is a 1953 movie. Oh, by the way, this is a 1953 movie. I didn't
By
think
the way, we
I
didn't
did
mention
we
that.
I don't think as far as I knew, we weren't really people didn't really like stuff from Japan back then, did they? Given that we had just been at war with them.
I
But
didn't think
I guess
about
maybe
that.
sake was already popular before the war. I don't know.
Hmm.
'Cause I mean, I know sake has been in Japan for a while. I just, I always assumed like sake, tequila, mezcal, all that stuff didn't get popular in the US until later.
I mean, I didn't know what sake was until I met you. So
What?
yeah, I had sake with you and another friend of ours. That was the first time I've ever had sake.
With what? Well, I don't like sake.
You didn't
Oh,
have
you
it.
were
It was
just
another friend
there.
of ours.
We were
I was
together when you
there.
had sake. Did you like it?
That was the first time I ever had it.
Oh,
Yeah,
wait.
because
Didn't we have a sake bomb?
yes, so sake bomb is
Oh,
that
yeah.
exactly.
You were not.
Oh God,
It was just us. It was just us. There was a third
was
person, but
it?
there was a third person, but that was the bartender who you were staring at the whole time. Yeah, you remember? You remember now? As yeah,
Unfortunately,
a bartender whom you had to not to subtly,
I had to shy away from.
yeah, someone that you had to explicitly tell that you weren't a lesbian to, even though you kept staring, even though it was embarrassing for me, the guy.
Oh my God. You know what? This is why when you take a woman to a bar, they're either going to think you're not straight or they're going to think we're together. So if they didn't think we
No,
were together, you're welcome.
we would have been fine had you not stared at this poor bartender, or really any of the bartenders, so obviously, because it was just embarrassing for you.
Yeah, it is. And we've gone through this.
I thought it was
Men, I'm
hilarious,
a little bit more approachable. Women, I shy away from.
but
It's
yes,
my natural
yes.
reaction.
Um,
But
back to this
anyway,
movie. Back to
pickle
this
juice.
movie. Yeah, back to this movie. One of the things I wanted to point out was there's this part where the kid starts running away, and he goes through this little hallway where he ends up going down a fireman's pole, although, and he ends up like in the
Yeah.
kitchen. That, and again, these sets are weird as hell, but that little hallway, did you ever play Prince of Persia on PC before it was a PlayStation game?
There's,
Like it was like a early Nintendo kind of looking game.
No, I
Prince
think
of
I played it on Nintendo. I've never played the
No, so the PC one.
PC.
Yeah, because I used to play this on a computer when I was in elementary school, because it was in our computer lab. Uh, so you never played the game, the video game, Prince of
Yeah,
Persia?
I played the video game. In fact, I even
No,
had it on the version of my phone. They had one for your like an app on your phone a long time ago.
like yeah, it's like a very basic like 8-bit game.
Yeah.
Okay, that hallway looks exactly like all the hallways in that Prince of Persia game, where you see the little character
I
run,
see what
and
you're
you have to
saying.
make
Yeah.
it stop before it falls down the with like the 3 levels or something. It looked exactly like that, because he had like the lights where it's supposed to be. He couldn't get back because the guards that looked exactly like the ones from Prince of Persia were there. I thought
Yeah.
that was funny. Uh,
Interesting.
but yeah, apparently not enough to make you laugh, but still.
No, I mean, there's like I said, like there's things that I remember as a kid that caught my eye, like that when we're talking about the food part, when he's offering them food, that immediately caught my eye, started my pickle craze. But there's also another scene. It's actually the one of the kid when he's on top of the bed, and what is it called? What's that ticker? That
Oh yeah,
ooh,
yeah, it's to keep time when you're playing piano or an instrument.
I cannot remember the name of it, but
It's a
that
timer.
thing on top of the bed, yeah, that noise, it actually really like caught my attention as a kid. I was a really weird
You
kid.
you
I got
never
caught by certain.
you never had like piano lessons or like instrument lessons, yeah, music lessons. Because
No, the only instrument.
everyone that takes any type of instrument class like that,
Uh-huh.
they put that, like
No,
that's how
I'm
you
not
keep.
musically talented.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Everyone that plays an instrument or something,
Right.
everyone everyone has one of those, so they have to, because that's how you stay on, not on track. That's how you stay in tune. No, not
Rhythm?
in rhythm. That's the you have. That's how you know how fast you have to go note by note.
Oh, okay. No, the only thing I've ever played was violin, and that was very short lived. I have actually a long story on that one. But short story, I played violin for like 3 months and
Yeah.
I quit because my teacher basically told me and three other people that I was, well, first of all, he had us outside learning how to play violin outside the classroom.
That's weird.
And then second, he basically told us, or me per se, because I'd always like just mess around with the violin, like just
Yeah.
not really pay attention. He was
Well,
like, "Yeah, you're
okay.
not gonna make it."
Well,
That's what he
yeah.
told me.
I mean, at least pay attention. At least pretend.
How do you pay attention when they're teaching you outside the classroom and the rest of the class is in the classroom learning?
Okay, okay, fine.
That's how messed up my violin teacher was.
But yeah, okay. So, um, one of the things um we were gonna talk about was, I'm gonna skip a couple of things. Was the thing about this movie that I knew you probably either motivated you into something in your life or something, and
I
it's
know
the
her
fact that
story.
in this movie there's a pair of twins,
Hmm.
Siamese twins that are conjoined by their beard. Now, the main thing to take away from this is not the fact that these people have a joint beard, it's the fact that they are in skates the whole time. So they have to skate. They have to skate at the same time or in the same manner so they don't trip each other up. Now, were those weird characters one of the things that got you into skating?
Well, it got me into skating and it got me into bearded men. No, I'm just playing. Actually, no, I never realized that these people were on roller skates until I watched it as an adult. When I was a kid, I didn't really like, I wasn't phased by the roller skates, to be
Oh,
honest,
okay. So it's not like you.
until now.
So it's not like when you watched the movie as a kid and you saw those two guys skating. Like it didn't light something up inside you. It didn't awaken
Not
something.
really.
Okay. So like,
I was
oh, I
actually
want
more
to.
surprised I missed that as a kid because I was like, when I watched it recently again, I was like, oh, I never noticed that there's people on roller skates in a
Oh,
scene. That's
wow,
pretty
Ivy, I'm
cool. And I even
surprised.
posted it.
Okay,
I
so
posted it on my Instagram. That's how.
my question about that was, so the like in the one scene they actually have in the movie, um, they're like they have to do a couple of jumps and stuff.
Hmm.
So the twins are skating side by side, and then they have enough space for the other guy, for the plumber, who is also on skates, to jump over the beard. Can you do that? Would you be able to do
I
that little
probably,
dance where they're where it's pretty much jumping the rope but with skates?
I don't think I could do it for long. I think I could do it. I don't think I could do it for a long period of time, like jump rope and on skates for like more than
Well,
probably five
I mean,
seconds. I'll get messed up.
they weren't really doing it like a jump rope. They would do a lap, and then
Oh yeah, I could do
he
that.
would do the jump
I've
and
jumped
stuff.
over I've jumped over what, three people. Like I did it in segments. I jumped over one person. I've jumped over two people,
Those
three
poor
people, four
people.
people. That fourth person didn't make it, but we won't speak of that. But yeah, I could jump. I could jump on roller skates,
Okay, so
like that
may I suggest when roller derby comes back up, if that to make that a thing, like put
to make it happen.
two of the roller derby people with a fake beard, and then have them, go around the lap side by side one way, and then have someone else go the other way around the lap, and then they have to jump. they have to jump the beard, the quote unquote beard, and then see how many laps they can go before they trip themselves up and they fall on their face.
Wow, you've really been thinking about this.
You know,
It's like
actually,
you're creating a
I thought
TikTok in
about
your
it
head
the
already.
moment I saw. I was like, this would be a fun thing to watch on those roller derby bouts, because especially if you do it, I assume you just fall on your ass the first time before you even made it to the
As
rope.
always.
And there they go, and she fell before she even got to the to the rope.
Yeah, I tend to fall at the wrong times in the
Yeah.
wrong places.
Yeah, it was. I could always time it though. I remember we would go and watch you play. Our friends would be like, "Oh, Ivy's up. Ivy's gonna go in." They're like, "Okay, hold on, wait for it, wait for it. What? Just wait for it, wait for it. What are you talking about?" And fall. Oh, wow, how do you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
notorious for falling
but
ugly.
either way. Back to the movie. Ah, so the skaters. You didn't even think about that, but you did say before we started the recording that this movie that you like this movie because it related to you in a personal level, or you related to the movie in a personal level somehow in your childhood because of trauma or something like that. Go ahead. This is a safe
I was
space.
just traumatized.
Except the
It's a safe
com.
space.
I mean, this is a safe
It's like
space. Go
therapy,
ahead.
but for free.
I mean, just don't read the comment.
No. Oh.
But, and don't
No,
tell
I mean,
and don't tell your family, and just tell your family that we didn't do an episode so they can skip it.
I know, right? No,
I'm
I mean,
assuming this is a lot of stuff with your family.
I was just gonna tell them, please don't watch this episode. Or no, we didn't record an episode on this.
So go.
No, I mean, like I said, when I watched this movie, the very first time I watched it, the reason why I think it brings back so many memories is just the fact that I guess how I stumbled upon it, and that being, as I mentioned, living with my grandmother recording movies and shows for me, and it was one of those movies where obviously it didn't say, 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T. It was labeled under another film, but I popped it in, and it was one of those things that I've really enjoyed, as a kid, not knowing the name of the film, not even knowing what was going on, just visually being impacted, and the music itself, as far as like visually, because they have that grand that one scene with the dungeon, and it's this whole musical number, instrumental, and like just watching those things just kind of impacted me, giving me feelings, I guess you could say. And now that I watch it as an adult, it's a little different, but it still brings me back to my childhood. It still
Okay, so
gives me
nostalgia.
those nostalgia, warm, fuzzy feelings, I guess.
So it's kind of like the way I described having when I discovered the Phantom of the Paradise, but a little more innocent. With a little more innocence.
Yes.
Okay.
Because if you watch
it's
that
weird.
episode,
It's weird.
folks,
This is so weird because the movies that you have found that bring you to this that bring you this nostalgic feeling always end up being like this so much more innocent movies, these kids movies, the Disney movies. And then when I describe the movies that I discovered as a kid or that remind me of being a kid and stuff, they tend to be a lot more mature movies, like the Phantom of the Paradise, but also like any 1980s 1990s action movie that was originally rated R. But
yeah.
here's the thing: somehow I grew up with more mature movies. You grew up with the more kids movies, and yet somehow, somewhere along the way, you turned out to be a lot more messed up than me, because that's the truth. There's
I
so
know
many
you're
stories
the
we could not
innocent
tell
one.
about your life. and so many more than we could tell about my life.
That
Like
is actually very true.
somehow they ended up being so much more trauma in your life than mine. Even though I seem to be the one that's worse growing up in the more, you know, corruptible path.
You went from like mature films and growing up to liking Disney and childlike movies, where I
True.
was
Yeah,
more of the
yeah. So we
childlike
both
growing up to mature.
like
Opposite.
we're just crossing paths right now, but you're just going the other way that I and I'm going the other. We're just going in both in the opposite direction. True. That makes sense. We'll see who
But no,
we'll see who's going. We'll it'll take a couple of years to see who's going in the right path then.
I think it's me because I've lived it all.
Because what?
Because I lived it all at that point.
Well, I don't know. I mean, all this means is I'll be already pretty mature enough to, you know, not get us traumatized by the stuff that you've lived through already. Ah,
Yeah. But you have to keep in mind, these are films I watched because I lived with grandparents that didn't really allow me to watch obviously mature films. I had to watch Disney or Nickelodeon or Golden Girls. And these are true like shows and movies I was watching. But then you see another side of me where, I grew up with
yeah,
like
yeah,
my mom and my
with the
mom
death
and I,
metal,
yeah, like
the
there was
goth.
metal and there was goth and horror movies and Faces of Death. Like I had like I guess a very well-rounded background of
True, true.
movies and television.
I guess it helps that in my end, outside of the more mature movies, I was watching all the cartoons. I mean, then again, yeah, I mean, all my cartoons were like, you know, the old cartoons like Looney Tunes and stuff like that. But also, you know, you have The Simpsons and Dragon Ball Z. Everything I watched was violent. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know. There's some violence. Something happened there. We'll see. All right, but coming back to this movie, Ivy, there was one thing that I was gonna tell you, and it was about the skaters again. So the skaters, after they cut their beards off,
Hmm.
did they die? Because like in the next scene where they capture the good guys, the kid and the mom and the dad, there's like a funeral for the twins. Like the evil guy gives them like starts crying for them. Like, oh, I knew them. They were good people. And I will do like a rehearsal in your honor or something like that. Does that mean they
You
died?
know what?
Does that mean
Now
they
that I think of
like
it, I think they did.
like they cut someone's beard and they die? Also, do the kids kill the villain? Because after he allows everyone to leave, after the evil guy tells everyone they're free, the kids rush the stage, the podium where the villain is, and they drag it, like they hang up on, they get all over him, and then the next thing you know is you just see the kids drag him, but he's like limp. Like, does that mean the kids kill the villain?
I mean, in all
Because I mean, that's
sense,
messed
yes.
up. Does that mean? Because
But
like
they're not
there's
going to show you.
because it's like it's messed up.
It kind of is. I mean, if you think about it, it's just like a mob of, reminds me of like zombies, like a mob of zombies attacking this one
I'm
person.
okay if the bad guy dies or something in movies, but this is like such a happy go lucky movie the whole way through, and then suddenly you realize they killed a set of twins and nobody seemed to care except the bad guy. And then later the bad guy gets killed by a mob of children. And like even though the bad guy just told them everyone could leave, like just leave. Why kill the guy? It was like,
Well, I mean, you have to think about it too. Like, if you think about it innocently, like, yeah, it's cutesy. It's not going to show you that, the villain dies at the end or like the bearded man died. But if you think about it, so you have this kid who is like a delinquent, doesn't want to play piano, and then his mom ends up marrying like this like douchey stepdad,
so
or is gonna
so they
marry this douchey stepdad.
so no matter what, the kid wanted the dad. I mean the bad guy to die in his dream, so the bad guy was going to die no matter what.
Pretty much,
I
you
mean,
know. If you've ever
fine.
had a stepdad or a
Like
stepmom,
I'm
I mean,
okay.
not everybody, but
I can see that, but still, like having a mob of kids do the killing, it's kind of like, whoa, where did that come from?
yeah.
It's like, are those kids just dragging the body away?
Again,
Uh,
it's a Dr. Seuss film.
but this is what brings me to the next topic for this movie, which is the fact that this movie was heavily edited from what it was originally supposed to be.
Yes.
Apparently, it was the original version was almost like 2 hours and a half, like 2.5 hours long. And
Yes.
then, from what I was able to find out, they showed it to a test audience, and they did not like it. So apparently, I don't know if they just hated it so much, or maybe they only took a little bit and really ran with it. But apparently, they killed like nine out of 9 songs out of like almost 20 songs, which
Yes.
means there was a lot of the plot, a lot of subplots, a lot of story, out of the film.
That was taken out.
Like
Hmm.
apparently there's a lot of stuff that the reason why it doesn't make sense is not because it's Dr. Seuss story, it's because they just took out the stuff that would have made it make sense. And one of the things, because apparently one of the things is that this movie also had a lot of rewrites by Dr. Seuss. But apparently one of the things that they took out was a song where the plumber and the mother actually fall in love. Because one of the things about the movie is suddenly either they don't know each other or they've only met once, and then like the next scene they're like in love. Like, oh yeah, we're in love. Like, really? How did that happen in one song? Um so apparently there's a whole song that they cut out where they had fallen in love, and so that would have made more sense. But also apparently one of the things they did after that test audience didn't like the movie was that they went and did reshoots of for the movie, and they added the part about the kid, about the whole thing being a dream. Like apparently that whole part, the beginning and the end, was a part of a reshoot. So like,
Yeah, I think from my understanding, it was to, I guess, in an editor's way, try to piece it together to make sense
yeah, I mean,
because it was missing elements.
and I and no, because to me it would have made sense if the whole thing hadn't been a dream. But again, I think that has to do a lot more with the fact that are already we already have a better idea of what Dr. Seuss was about. Again, back then
Hmm.
he wasn't famous. Like this wasn't even they didn't even hype the movie with his name because he wasn't famous. Like this was before he wrote all the big books under his name. So I guess people just thought it was too weird. There wasn't that aesthetic wasn't popular yet for Dr. Seuss. But apparently one of the things they redid on that sequence of It's All a Dream is that apparently the evil guy, because on the real world the evil guy is just the kid's piano student. Like that's it.
Hmm.
It's just a piano teacher. Apparently the way it was supposed to go is that he wasn't even supposed to be a piano teacher. He wasn't even supposed to be there as a real person. apparently he was supposed to. So the way the scene was originally supposed to play was the mom wanted the kid to learn how to play piano, and so she bought the Mr. Te- Terwilliger, Dr.
Hmm.
Dr. Terwilliger's piano lessons. So, and you see the piano lesson with the doctor's face in the movie. So the whole point is that like the kid doesn't like it and he starts doodling on the face on the paper of
Yeah.
the notebook, and then magically Dr. T gets all mad and he comes off the page, like his face gets animated, and he grabs the kid and brings him into the magical world of Dr. T.
Hmm.
Like he grabs the kid from the real world and takes him into his universe. And apparently the main the actor that did the bad guy, he wanted to keep that. Like he thought
Yeah.
making the evil guy like a real person and just like this regular piano teacher, this mean piano teacher. He I guess he thought it took a lot of that magic fantasy away, which I agree. I think I would have liked the movie a lot more had it been had it been like that instead of just like a whole. It was all a dream. I need to go
It
to
kind
a
of reminded
yeah.
me of what is it? Wizard of Oz, like that feeling.
No, well, Wizard of
Like it's
Oz
all a
was all a
dream.
dream, and that's what they did with this. But in the original story, he gets pulled into in the kid gets pulled into a real world of magic, which is
And that would have been interesting to
yeah,
watch.
that like it.
That I think I
I
agree
feel
with
like
you on that.
it would have felt it would have been easier to go with it because I don't know the whole it's a dream thing has been overdone since like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Ever.
Yeah, I know. It's like just the Wizard of Oz did it. We get it. That's good enough. Like if oh yeah, so it's more like it would have been more like Narnia, which it would
Yeah.
I'd be I feel like that's better. That works for me a lot more than the idea that everything's a dream. But that's who am I to say anything? Apparently, it's not like I was. It's not like I was alive back then to complain. But yeah, what was the other thing I had about this movie? Um, so there's one part of the movie that they cut out that it's not too obvious, but a little bit, and it's when they're in an elevator going down to the dungeon, and the song skips a level. So in the song,
Yeah.
they go from
I know what
level
you're talking about.
level one, level two, and then basement, even though they're supposed to be a level three. And apparently, one of the reasons for that is because the lyrics were just a little too heavy for anyone. Because apparently there was even there's even a mention of gas chambers. And again, this was in 1953, right around the time people were starting to had just learned exactly what happened in the Holocaust. So it was almost
Hmm.
like, nope, nope, level three,
Cut that out.
like stanza for that stanza, that paragraph is out. Nope, just cut that out. No, we can't do that. Yeah, I mean it's like about torture and stuff, which in the song you can't even you have to pay attention to the lyrics, but I'm pretty sure gas chambers would have resonated very loudly
I
to
would have been like
any
singing and gas chamber.
like imagine being a parent taking your kid to watch a movie and then them looking over like what's a gas chamber? Like oh no.
No, I mean, I remember that part, and I did notice there being somewhat of a gap
Yeah,
between scenes.
but
But
yeah,
again, that's what just happens. It sucks when they take out parts from films. I mean, I was actually explaining to you too. Out of the songs that they have taken out, all those scenes were shot. Like they were shot and pieced in for the original
yeah,
preview screening. But when they took them out, they ended up, I think, maybe a decade ago. I was mentioning it to you that a decade ago they re-released them,
yeah.
the original songs,
Some of it, yeah.
and they were not that bad.
Yeah,
except
well,
gas chamber.
yeah,
But
apparently they re-released a whole bunch of stuff, like not just the songs, but like just little sound effects and harmonies and stuff, like pretty much any type of sound that they were able to recover. And there's a
yeah,
place where it tells, there's like a, I guess the CD that you buy, comes with a booklet that tells you, explain to you exactly what you're listening to, is even if it's just like a sound effect, and it tells you where it was supposed to go on the movie, and what it was supposed to be, to kind of fill in the gaps of whoever's hearing it. It was like, oh, so that's what the movie was supposed to be like. And again, I think, and that is a problem. I think that's what makes it a less of a great movie for me, because they definitely cut enough out of it that it's it's just not what I what what the trailer suggests. Like this, when you watch the trailer, you're thinking it's gonna be a hell of a lot weirder, with a hell of a lot more,
hmm
awe. And then I feel like that's, it definitely, they must have taken so much out of it that it definitely just left a shell of it. And I think because of that, the movie wasn't like a hit, because apparently it just completely bombed. And
yeah.
apparently even Dr. Seuss even commented on that. There was like a quote that I don't remember. It's a very Dr. Seuss quote with some weird, not real word.
Some
Eh,
rhyming
yeah.
and
And apparently this is one of the reasons Dr. Seuss never made a movie again. And it may have also been a reason why he never wanted his books to be reworked into movies or anything like that. Because I don't know if you knew this, the only reason we've ever had Dr. Seuss movies, or movies based on his works, was because his wife agreed to that. Like, there was
really.
nothing until after he died, because he never wanted any of his work, his published work, to be turned into movies or anything like that.
I
So
didn't know that.
yeah,
That's
so
actually interesting.
so after he died, his wife or whoever was had the rights to that stuff agreed to start making those. So that's why before that there wasn't really anything of Dr. Seuss, like maybe the cartoons. But yeah,
That's pretty much it.
and
Hmm.
so
I
there's
didn't know
that.
that.
So it seems that there's a chance this experience may have had a lot to do with that, because
Right.
he probably didn't like the fact that, after all his drafts and doing, for a final movie, that they still cut like half of the movie out. But yeah, that's that's that. Actually, I'll give you
And
another.
that sucks.
Yeah, I'll give you another trivia so that we don't end once more on a on a sad
I
note.
know you tend to end these
I'm,
podcasts
what
like
can I say?
these episodes with some depressing sort of either trivia,
I'm
real
good with
life
that.
events.
It's because I usually try to let you have fun with what you thought about the movie, and then I don't realize. And then by the time I want to start talking about myself, I just, it's already late. We're pretty much wrapping up. And then suddenly I realize, once I get into it, that this is very negative stuff.
No, I mean
It's
keep
not like
going
I'm
because you're
trying,
making me look like a saint.
it's not like I
That's what
want
you're
to,
doing.
like, if it was, like, it'd be better if it was like suspenseful stuff, but it always ends up being a downer. It's well, I mean
It's okay. Keep going.
I mean, that's the thing about movies. There's always a lot of trivia, but most of the trivia is very, it's either stupid trivia or kind of negative sad trivia. Like, oh, guess how many stunt drivers died in the making of this movie, something like that.
Oh
Okay,
God.
so
It's
trivia, a little more trivia for this. As I said, Dr. Seuss actually wrote a number of drafts for this movie, if, before the final version, which we didn't even get to see. But apparently, in one of his first drafts, first of all, that screenplay was 1,200 pages long. which for a screenplay that's too long. Um,
Mhm.
even if it's a musical with lots of lyrics. So in early drafts, Dr. Terwilliger, I think that's how you say that name, he kept the mom prisoner in a cage that hang over the bed. So in the movie that we get, she's like in her own room, but it has like he closes the door on her that's like a jail door. In
Yeah.
the original draft, it's a lot darker than that. And like she's like literally like a little pigeon in a cage above him. Um and apparently there's a whole song that they I don't think they it probably never even made it to the original movie. Um, there's a song where she's in the cage above the bed, and she sings about being hypnotized by the doctor, or how she's or praising praising Doctor T. Like she's sing like literally like a pigeon in a cage singing, but it's a Dr. Seuss song about the bad guy. And
Yeah,
then
I don't know how I feel
apparently,
about that.
in those early drafts, the bad guy would actually cut off the heads of his like servants or the guards, like whoever he didn't like or something, he would cut off their heads, but they wouldn't die. They would just come back alive, but without a head, and they would keep serving him. So
Yeah.
kind of like what's the movie with the cat and the Red Queen?
Oh, Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, kind of like that, except the people that got their
Off
heads
with
cut off
their head.
would come back alive. Oh yeah, and then also in one of these original drafts, the twins, which again we already mentioned, die in the movie after getting their beard cut off. Apparently, in one of the original drafts, the twins actually strangle the somehow, I don't know, they get unhypnotized or something, but the twins are actually the ones that kill the bad guy by strangling him with their beard. So instead of the twins dying by getting
Mm.
their beards cut off, originally they were gonna be the ones that kill the bad guy. Which again, there's some dark elements in this movie, and it
But see,
could have
that's why it
been,
makes sense why they were cut.
apparently could have been even darker. Uh,
Yeah.
I would have been okay with it more darker. I think just I think I would have been okay with any of the versions that Dr. Seuss wrote, had it not
Yeah.
had the movie not been completely re-edited to like half to an hour less. I think it would have been a better movie at least.
Well, I mean, I think this film had. Okay, so considering its time to now, like if this film was to be would have been made now, all those scenes that you described would have probably made Final Cut. Like it makes
I
sense.
know.
Like there
Uh,
is no holding
is
back in films now.
is that how messed up we are? The fact that I think that would have been a better movie. Like yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
great. No, but
as a kid, I would have been okay watching that again
same.
because I grew up with Looney Tunes. Everyone offs each other on the Looney Tunes. Uh, uh,
But they
am
come
I
back.
am I wrong? How many times
No,
did you not see Elmer Fudd shoot Daffy Duck or
but
shoot
they come back.
himself? Or how many times did you not see the Tasmanian devil? Um, did he eat people, or did he just like kind of leave them featherless?
I think he just went crazy. He
Okay.
just went crazy on them.
Oh, good times. I think there's still
Right?
that's still a thing, right? The Looney Tunes, like there's still like a TV series.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just the stubbornness in me not to watch new Looney Tune episodes. But I've seen a couple like just passing through or surfing the channels, and they don't catch my eye anymore.
The ones that I've been trying to watch again was Animaniacs. Um,
I started watching it actually, not too,
it's
like maybe a couple days ago.
it's definitely a throwback. It makes me feel old.
I actually understand though. I didn't. Okay, so when I was younger, I didn't. Again, I was a dumb kid and
Because
didn't understand
you know,
anything.
I didn't understand everything when I was a kid, except for the whole "hello, nurse." That I understood that very well.
Of course you did.
I
No, I didn't
know.
know they were.
I
I knew they were
like,
siblings.
I, like I've always been very aware of where my sexuality sits.
Mine was like all over the place.
Yeah, I
No,
know.
I knew the Animaniacs were siblings. I didn't know that their last name were Warner, right? Warner, because it was like
Oh yeah,
a pitch off of
really?
Warner Brothers.
You never get that?
I didn't get that until I started watching it again a couple of days ago because I was
Oh,
like, oh, I used to watch Animaniacs.
I
But then
think
I realized like, oh, I get it now.
I think the reason I got that was because that was one of the cartoons I would watch multiple times a day because I would watch it in the English channel and then I would watch
Yeah.
it later on in the Spanish channel. And I think because I would get and I think it was a lot more obvious in the Spanish version to learn that that was their name. Because in English, it's just the Warner Brothers and you just think of the brand. But when you translate it to Spanish, it's a lot more obvious that they're all, that's their family name.
Okay, you have to do this for me.
What?
So in English, you say, hello, nurse.
Oh,
In
it's a
Spanish, you would say,
hola, enfermera.
I
It's a
just
direct
wanted to hear you say it.
it's a direct translation. But actually, I remember the voices were actually pretty damn similar. I think
Yeah.
that's why I liked watching that one in both languages. They were pretty spot on. Because most of the times the voices are very tend to divert a little, if not a lot. But yeah, um, one one last trivia, and this is because this is a funny one about 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T. It so according to, I guess, Dr. Seuss was interviewed about the movie at some point, and apparently he had this story from the making of it, and it's that, at the end of the movie there's like 100 actual kids in the set that are supposed to play the piano. There's like
Hmm.
there's really literally a lot of kids in set. So apparently, while they were filming that with all the kids, and I don't know if it was 100 kids or maybe actually 500 kids, but it was a lot of them. Apparently, at one point, one of those kids vomited, and you know what?
What?
Yeah, well, I mean, kids vomit. Sometimes they get nervous. Sometimes they just didn't eat something right. Uh, eh, so
Ew.
you know what happens when there's a lot of kids and one kid vomits and the other kids see that,
They all vomit?
they all vomit. Yeah. So
Is this like
apparently,
a spill on Stand By Me when the kid, or what was it? Have you ever seen it?
this is like Family Guy. Remember when
Yes.
when everyone starts throwing up?
Yeah, but it's a spin-off of Stand By Me when the guy's eating the pie and
Oh,
he
okay.
vomits the pie and then everybody starts vomiting.
Okay, yeah, I've never seen
Ugh,
that one.
that's me.
But yeah, apparently that's what happened. One little kid vomited, and then just like a chain reaction, a whole bunch more started vomiting. So
Gross.
they had to obviously clean the set and reset. But I wish they had left that. Or I wish there was like
Imagine
I
that would be gross.
I wish there was it was like DVDs nowadays with like all the extra content where you could just watch it. It's like the behind the scenes. But yeah, apparently that happened.
Was it during filming? Like, were they filming and then the kid vomited, or was it like
It
between
it
filming?
it
Or
didn't specify it because from what I got it didn't specify it. It simply said according to Dr. Seuss, and there's the recollection that one kid vomited and then a whole bunch more did. And then after that, the article I was reading just says that then Dr. Seuss, um, he described it in a specific way, and then he said, "Yeah, that's exactly how what the reviewers and critics thought about the movie." So,
Huh.
but yeah, that was the whole point of that story. That Dr. Seuss thought the same thing that happened with the kids was the same thing that happened with the critics, because nobody liked the movie when it came out, or at least when it came to critics. But I mean, and actually I get it. I mean, this movie is visually very cool, but it's
Not the greatest.
possible.
Yeah, I agree.
Like if you
I
can,
mean, the
I mean,
films that we've seen,
it's a fun movie to put in front of a kid, for kids.
yeah,
'Cause they're not gonna be paying too much attention to the plot itself. But we've at least based on all the other musicals we've spoken about in this podcast, eh, the songs aren't as good.
yeah. It's funny because, like I was saying, we've seen a number of films together, and then we've done a number of episodes on films we've watched. And I think this is maybe the first. No, mine was the Santa Claus with muscles that I hated. But this is probably maybe one of those that's like,
Just go.
it's not
let,
amazing.
let's just talk about musicals. How about the musicals
Yeah,
we've seen?
it wasn't the greatest, but it was visually impactful, at least for me, because again, this goes back to like nostalgia for me.
Exact. And I mean, it's one of those very visually, like, one of those 1950s movies that are very visually appealing, because that's one of the things
Mhm.
about those movies from the 50s, is that to this day they look very, very good. Like the sets were very, fantastical and stuff like that. The musical,
Theatrical.
the musicals, or the dance numbers were always like very, what's a good word? They were very elaborate. So, that's why they're
Yeah.
still popular today. But this one kind of, it tried to do that. I feel like they tried to do that, but it didn't really quite hit the mark. But okay, that's what happens. That's life.
That's what we watched. It was alright.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was good, but it wasn't like the greatest musical. Or was you even said it's not even a musical, but yeah, it was alright.
Yeah. So maybe next movie, or the next couple of movies we watch will be better. But this wasn't too bad. Um, we were trying to do some different new things though. So
Mm-hmm.
next episode hopefully will come out on time. But if it doesn't, it might be because we are coming up with new things. Um, IB, if you have any
Yes,
ideas, let me know. But I am
will do.
I I know we discussed on doing like a episodes where we have more of a theme in which we discussed multiple movies, and I'm really thinking shark shark movies uh would be
Valentine's
a
is
good
coming
thing.
up.
Oh,
Sharks in Love.
but yeah, Valentine's Day we can do, yeah. Valentine's Day we could do a theme. There's definitely a lot of themed Valentine's movies. There's one with Taylor Swift, isn't there?
Oh my God, if you make me watch Valentine's Day,
Oh, is that what it's
I
called?
will not
What?
like. Yes,
I
it's
knew
called
there's
Valentine's
I knew
Day.
there's a reason why I put those two together.
I saw that movie on Valentine's Day with my mother,
Oh, I
and I
thought you
went for
were
the
on a
popcorn.
date. Oh,
No, my dates always were like Prince Pan's Labyrinth and all these
oh
horror movies I watched back in the day.
no, but on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, there are always horror movies on Valentine's
Okay.
Day.
I mean, usually people go out to dinner or stuff like that, but okay.
Yeah, I did that too.
Okay. So yeah, thank you guys so much for coming back for one more episode of Black Frame the podcast. Please stay tuned and come back once more, because we are coming up with new ideas, uh, with new visions of what we can do to make this podcast even better, not just for you to hear, but also for you to watch, because Ivy definitely needs to have a couple of videos, video
You need to
content
see the stupid
put
things
up.
I do
Yep,
visually.
she's definitely accumulated an archive full of stupid stuff that may or may not be movie related, but we're definitely gonna put, at least on, if not on YouTube, maybe on Snapchat or TikTok,
I'm
somewhere.
down.
Yeah, Instagram, somewhere where you can watch it and laugh at IB, because I don't do stupid stuff like that. Um,
Yes. I have stupid stuff of you on my phone, so I wouldn't be
yeah.
talking.
Well, usually I'm just holding the phone and you're, on your face on the floor. But
Oh my god.
hey,
No, if I get 100 likes on Instagram or on Facebook, I will post the video that I took of me doing the WAP, twerking backwards on the wall.
oh, Ivy, I was just gonna
100
suggest,
likes, guys.
I was just gonna suggest to do the video of, makeup tutorials where you try to do the, like a recreation of your favorite characters, but we can do that too.
Yes. No, we'll do that one instead. I like that.
Okay, then. Well, once again, thank you guys for listening in. We really appreciate you. If you have any ideas, any comments, any complaints, please go ahead and put them in the comment section in any of our platforms. If you're listening to us on podcasts, please subscribe. If you are listening to us on YouTube, please subscribe as well. Either way, that's it for me and Ivy. Ivy, do you have a goodbye for us?
Hello, nurse.